100% of the population of Gaza is experiencing severe levels of acute food insecurity. We cannot, we must not allow that to continue.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking in Cairo, as you can see. There's something pretty rich about him speaking about that and lecturing Israel from Egypt, no less, describing the dire situation in Gaza. In a major shift, 5 months into the war in Israel, and the Biden administration has fully abandoned the Jewish state. Here's just part of their resolution at the United Nations. The Security Council determines the imperative of an immediate and sustained ceasefire to protect civilians on all sides in connection with the release of all remaining hostages. No demands for Hamas to lay down its weapons. No demands for Hamas to give up control of Gaza. No demands for Hamas to surrender the people who raped and pillaged their way through Israel on October 7th and created true terror in a way that Jews had not experienced since the Holocaust. The White House position is clear. If you support a ceasefire in Gaza, then you are a humanitarian. But the U.S. seems to have a very different opinion of a ceasefire in Ukraine. Reports from Reuters and the New York Times show the U.S. rejected Putin's request for a ceasefire. Here now, former United Nations Ambassador John Bolton also serves as National Security Advisor under President Trump. Mr. Ambassador, good to see you as always. Thank you. Do you think this different treatment of Ukraine and Israel by the administration is justified, and how would you square the circle?
No, I don't think so. Look, in Ukraine first, the Russians were the ones who committed aggression at a high cost in human life. They've succeeded in doubling the territory of Ukraine they now control. This is not the time to have a ceasefire, which would simply give Russia a de facto new border. That's, I think, what Putin's interested in. So I think it's perfectly legitimate there to say no ceasefire. And I would say the same in Gaza. If there's a humanitarian tragedy going on, the party responsible is Hamas, that is barbaric enough, cruel enough to endanger its own civilian population to protect itself from being eliminated by the Israelis. This amounts really to a terrorist veto over Israel's right to self-defense. So I think the way to get a ceasefire, I think the way to get the remaining hostages released and get humanitarian aid in is for Israel to defeat Hamas.
Help us understand, why do you think, I should say, that the administration has such a different view, and that, at least among a certain part of America's elite, it is so popular to demand a ceasefire in Gaza? You are a humanitarian, but demanding a ceasefire, even talking about a ceasefire or a negotiated settlement in Ukraine, makes you a Putin apologist.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think the administration's position on the ceasefire in Gaza makes them objectively pro-Hamas. Israel's right to self-defense includes eliminating the threat. It doesn't mean eliminating part of the threat and then kind of stopping for a while to allow them to regroup. That's not something we did in World War II at any point that I'm aware of. Our determination was to eliminate the Nazi state and to eliminate Imperial Japan, which, by the way, we did. I think the administration really is under enormous pressure from the left wing, the anti-Israel wing of the Democratic Party. They're obviously worried about a potentially very close election in November. And I think they've gone completely schizophrenic. And that's what this UN ceasefire resolution is about. It's a betrayal, really, of our closest ally without evidence of Israeli commission of war crimes. There's a lot of hot air out there, but the administration even now is engaged in a study. I have been told, for what it's worth, that our embassy in Jerusalem cabled back to Washington that their review, at least, of what Israel's doing has not amounted to any illegal acts by Israel. Now, we'll see if others disagree, but I think this is a panic move by the Biden White House.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.